So I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Fantastic. We've got some people coming in. Beautiful. Wonderful. Kia ora, Tato. Welcome back to another Q&A here at Digital Boost. I'm Georgia Hatzis, and today I have someone who's become a really good friend, it seems, over the course of these sessions together. I've got Dalene Breytenbach with us again from Thankyou Payroll. Today, we are going to talk about what is the cloud, why is it important? This topic came up in one of our previous sessions. And Dalene, if you have not seen any of her sessions, please go back into the platform. You can just, search Thankyou Payroll. You can search Dalene's name, and you will find all of these things around payroll and very specific, really detailed information that has been so helpful for so many. And so Dalene is the education specialist at Thankyou Payroll, so she's got it down. But the cloud came up because we were having this Q&A, and it sort of was a nebulous topic. And I don't know. Let's see what shows up, what Dalene's got to share with us. So let's talk about the cloud a little bit. And if you have any questions while we're going through this, pop your questions into the Q&A here on Zoom. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, you can add your questions into the comment section, and I'll have a look. And let's have a conversation around this. Dalene, welcome back. It's so lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, Georgia. It's always so nice to be back with the Digital Boost community. Yeah, so if you guys would like to get your questions in the Q&A as we go on, and we can jump into this really interesting conversation and see what the cloud is and what the potential holds to us. Right, so I'm going to share my screen there.
Looks
So
great.
we're on. All good. Okay, so today we're going to talk about cloud services and payroll just a little bit, but first we're going to look at demystifying the cloud. So what is the cloud and what potential does it hold for us? So I'd like to start my discussions with a wee bit of a disclaimer, just to tell you that this information is readily available, and it is not really based on standard payroll practices right now for this webinar, because this is about the cloud. But it is regular information available. As always, if you have specific questions, do get advice from a professional who can look at your situation. So it's not deemed as legal advice. It's just guidance to get your understanding of what the cloud is for this webinar. So what are we going to have a look at? We're going to first see what is the cloud. What does it do? What is its purpose? What does it look like? Then we're going to look at the pros and cons. So what's the goods? What's the bads? What do I need to know? If I don't want to do the cloud, what alternatives do I have? So it's always good to know, what else I could do. And then we're going to stop a little bit at payroll specific and just say, why would we want to use cloud-based payroll or not? Because, we are a payroll company, so that'll just help to clarify why cloud services can be used for payroll. And then in the end, if you have any questions, we can get through to that. So let's take a look at the cloud. What is the cloud? Exactly, because a cloud sounds like, something up in the air. So, in essence, the cloud is basically just a network of servers. And you've got a picture there of a server room. So it's a network of servers in different locations across the globe. And I think that's quite important to know, is that these servers are all over the world. So if something happens in one place, another place can sort of spring to life and keep going. That's why the internet almost never goes down, the whole entire internet. It's shared all over the globe with different servers, okay? And they all work together so that people can access information over the internet. So that's the second thing. These locations are accessed through the internet. So it's not really a person going in. You don't have to go to a specific place, log in, access their computer and use it. It's all over the internet, which means that you can use any device to get onto the site. You can use a mobile phone to get onto the site. If something has internet capability, you can access the cloud. So that's the first very important thing to know. These servers are used to do a couple of things. They're used to store things, so they're like big warehouses to store information. But then they're also brains. They process information. So you can imagine if you've got so many computers processing, they can process quite a lot and quite fast. Okay. And then the last thing is they also manage. So they put things in certain places and they file things and they back up and they do all those kinds of things. So the cloud is just big warehouses of lots of computers that work together all across the globe. So I hope that that makes things easier for you. It's an actual physical place. It's
I think
not
that's
something way up somewhere.
I think that's so interesting because when we talk about the cloud, right? And you just think about these because everything is becoming electronic and we're moving between our computers, our phones, our tablets, everything it feels like it's in the air. I like to say it's in the ether, right? But
Exactly.
having the concept that, oh no, there's actually a physical place for this. Like things, technology does not exist out of thin air. There is a solid place and these things are taking up space in the world
Exactly.
somewhere running on energy. So it's important to, yeah, when we think about that and
To know that.
and it's storing our data, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just a whole bunch of computers that work together that are housed somewhere in the world. So you might be surprised to know that you already use the cloud quite comfortably, actually. So you use cloud-based software is stored and managed on these servers, and you access it through the internet. So where do you already use this? In banks. Your banking. You don't have a banking guy that goes and takes the note to somewhere else. And, that doesn't happen like that anymore. Banks use these secure global servers all over the globe, and they talk together to store the data, to transfer funds over the internet. So that's exactly the same. You can log into your bank's website and access your data from anywhere. You can go on your phone, you can be overseas, you can do whatever. You go onto the website or in the app, you log in, and everything that you had is exactly the same as if you were in the bank. Right. So that is a cloud service, a cloud-based software. Streaming services. We all use Netflix or Neon or whatever, right? So those streaming services are also cloud streaming services. You don't go to a DVD store and borrow the DVD and have to put it in your local device, and then it spins up and then it has a scratch and you can't see that little bit. So you've got to go. It's not like that anymore. Right? It's not like that anymore. So you basically sign into their site, Netflix or whatever site, and you pick and you view. Just like that. There isn't even buffering anymore that much. So yeah, that's a streaming service that we use. Many of you already use Google Drive, or you use OneDrive, Microsoft Space, or you can use Dropbox to save your things. So if you have, for example, a family resource of information or a family cache of videos and photos that your whole family can drop their things into, they can be across the world and still store data in there that you can access the minute that they store it. So that is just examples of how we already use cloud-based software. So I want you to see that this isn't a foreign thing. This is something that we use daily, so you don't have to be scared of it. You use it all the time. And the reason why we use it so often is because it makes our lives easier, right? But we don't have to, but it just makes it easier if we do. So there are certain terms that you might have already heard of. So you might have heard of cloud technology or cloud computing, and it sounds really fancy, but this is basically what it is. It's how do you use those big servers to do what you need it to do. Servers, data lakes, you might have heard of hardware and software. You might have heard of operating systems and backups and security, 2FA, MFA. You might have even heard of SaaS and PaaS and IaaS companies. You might have heard of those types of things and not be sure what that has to do with the internet and cloud. So we're going to quickly have a little bit of a look at how the cloud actually works, and then we're going to have a look at some of this terminology just to make sure that we understand what the terms mean. So traditionally, if I want a computer program, and now I need you to understand, please, that these days, many things are so integrated that it's really hard to get a pure example. Okay, so let's think 50 years back, pure example. Okay, Alan is looking for a computer program to manage his timesheets. He wants a timesheet program because he's tired of doing it on paper. He can still do it on paper if he wants to. Nobody says he doesn't have to. He has the option, but he wants to use his computer to do that. So in the old days, or even these days, you can go to a product hunt, you can go to a store, you view the demo, you look at the features, you get a features list, and then if you flip the CD or the DVD over, they have a list of system requirements. Okay, the system requirements tells you how clever your brain of your computer needs to be, how strong your graphics card needs to be to show all the beautiful graphics that they use. They show you how much space you must have to store data on, so how big this program is, how much space it takes on your home computer. And then you have two options. Alan can either look at that requirements, look at the computer that he has right now at home, and he can say, my computer's not clever enough, or my computer's too old or too slow, or it doesn't have enough hard drive space. I need to find another program. I need to find something else that'll work with my computer. So he's got that option. Or he can go and he can say, I need to upgrade my computer. I need to go buy a new computer with a solid state hard drive, or I don't know what else, so that I can run this program, right? So once he's made that decision, then he goes and he buys the product. So he buys the thing for whatever price, $200, $300, $5,000, I don't know. He pays whatever the price is for this product. And it's usually a set price. So you get the product and this is what you pay for it. And then he could have a product code. Does that sound familiar? He has a product code and he can go onto this company's website and he can register the product to his name. Why do those things have product codes? So that if I lose my CD, I can still prove that I did buy this and I can download it again. So I need you to understand the traditional programs for computers used to be a product that you buy and you own that bit, but you only own that bit. Okay. The installation for that now, Alan has to go, he has to put his CD in his CD-ROM, and he has to configure the installation. He's got to say where it has to save, where it has to download, all the things. He has to go in there manually and set it up. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he can pay someone to install that program for him. That's traditionally, right? It usually for that product code, you can only install that product 2 or 3 times. It has a limit number of installations. So that says that he cannot get this product and install it on all of his computers. Or if he, he can have like a minimum 10 or minimum 20, whatever installations. Okay. The data is localized. That means that wherever he's installed that program, that computer can access that program. So if I have a laptop at home and I have a computer in the office and I want to use my timesheet program, I have to install it on my office computer and on my home computer. But usually those two programs don't talk to each other. So if I did work at home, I have to download it, print it out, send it somehow to the office computer, and then re-enter it in there. The two programs are not connected because it's a local installation. It's just on that one computer. Okay. Maintenance and problem solving. So Alan has to run updates. So they give updates on this program and Alan has to run it. And if this program of his is no longer supported, they have a new version or a bigger program and the developers don't work on it anymore, Alan might need to buy the new product in order to use it later. The product comes with a user manual, and usually the user manual tells you a lot about the installation because that's like the biggest part of it. But then how to use it will have little bits, but Alan basically has to figure it out himself. He has to just, read the manual, do the thing. customer support for these are usually just for reporting problems. So if something huge doesn't work, you give customer report a call. So it's usually just reporting problem faults. Continuity of Alan's business. How does he make sure that his data stays there and updated? He has to back up his data in some form. So he downloads the data onto a shared disk, or he writes a CD in the old days, or he does something like, but he is in charge of saving his data. So if his computer is corrupted, usually Alan has to pay someone at his own expenses to try and retrieve the data. You remember that? Yeah, you have to pay someone, and it's your problem. Or you can reinstall the program, but then you don't have any of your data. You just have the program from scratch. You start, yeah, okay. Start data input from scratch. If you migrate from one computer to another, you can usually install the program, but then the data you have to somehow manually transfer, or you have to pay someone to transfer your data. So you see the traditional idea. You have a local thing on this device, and it doesn't talk with anything else. If you change anything, you have to do it or pay someone to do it. Okay, that's a traditional program on a traditional computer device. Okay, localized. We call that localized. Okay, there are programs today that work like that. You can still go in and purchase a program and just have it localized. There are payroll software that works like that, where you can purchase something. For example, I think MyOB is not completely cloud-based, according to what I've heard. I think that is a local one. You download it, you install it on your local device, and that's where it works. So there are things like that today. So if you're looking for something like that, you will find it. Okay. Now let's go to the other extreme. Let's go to completely 100% cloud software. How does that look like? Okay. So same situation. Alan wants timesheet program. Okay. So what does his product hunt look like? He goes on the internet and he finds free trials of multiple possible things. So he actually goes on there, he looks at the different things, and he can try it out for free or for a limited time. They can say you've got a 3-month free subscription, or your first 3 clients, or there's some kind of a free trial. So you can try that out. Alan can also share those top ideas with his manager and have them play together on the same free trial and have them look, does this work for us? Doesn't this work for us? Okay. So you can get multiple logins to the same thing, and they can work on the same thing. And so he can say, look what I did here. I'm pulling this in here, and the manager can say, oh yeah, but if you pull that in there, I can do this with that. So you can work together on the same thing at the same time. Okay, try it before you buy it. Okay, that's a very big cloud software thing. How does his purchasing or his sign up look? So cloud software is usually subscription based. So he buys a subscription. He doesn't buy the product. So he doesn't have a CD with the thing that he has to install. The whole product is on the internet, and he just buys a subscription to it. So the subscriptions are usually feature-based or user-based. So if you only have 2 users, you only pay a little bit. If you have 20 users, you pay a little bit more. So what you get and what you use is a lot more upgradable and changeable. So usually pay per user. Later you can add his accountant or whoever else he wants to, and it can either be like, free for 5 users, but 6, 7 you pay $2 a user, something like that. It can also be time dependent. You can pay a yearly subscription, those types of things. Okay, so you don't have that initial 5,000 that you pay for the program. You kind of have a subscription that keeps going. Okay. What does the access to this look like? So remember the previous one, we said he has to install it on a certain computer for a certain time, and he can only have so many installs before you have to buy a new one. Access here is on the internet, and some of those are also available offline. So how that works is that you make the program available offline, and the next time you're on the internet, it updates to wherever it was. So it automatically syncs. We call it syncing when what you're doing here and what the data is stored is the same. So it does that. So not all things are available offline, but many of those things do give features that you can have certain things available offline or not. But it's access through the internet. Global access from anywhere. And you need to understand that this is to the same thing, the same data. So if Alan is sitting at home on his home computer looking at his timesheets and his manager is in China for a business trip, they can look at the same timesheet at the same time and do changes, and both of them see it at the same time. So they don't have to be on the same device. They don't have to be in the same location. They don't have to work on the same localized thing. So that's why, because it's over the internet. Usually these are user or password protected, and there's some kind of security around it. So that's where 2FA and those kinds of things comes in, because you can imagine if anybody can get into it from anywhere, you need to somehow make sure that, you know, the people who get in are actually the people you want in. So that's why the security is quite important there. You could use a smartphone app. So although this is internet accessed, many of these things have their own apps. So apps for smartphones. So this is sort of like just an interface, just like a look that is designed to work easier on a phone. But if you don't want to download the app for the phone, you can still just go on through the internet and still go to the website. So it's usually not dependent one or the other. It's just like a you know, if you want to use it that way. What does the maintenance and problem solving look like for Alan if he uses cloud-based things? Usually, these programs are automatically updated in the background. So he might be busy with his timesheets and then he gets a whoop, pop-up that says, oh, we've got this new feature. We've enabled, I don't know, pictures for your people. Have a play with this. He didn't even know that that was there. It's a new feature. Okay, so he didn't have to go and physically install it. Alan gets notified when features change or when things improve without him doing anything. Customer support and self-service materials. Usually, cloud software has extensive self-service resources. So they'll have how-to videos, they'll have how-to guides, they'll have, you know, do this, click through there. They've got problem solving tutorials. They've got how to link this to others, how to do integrate. They've got like so many resources because they want people to try out features. They want people to use their thing correctly, okay? So instead of an installation user manual, they have how to do this, how to actually work with this, because they don't have to spend their time telling you how to actually install the program, okay? And then all Alan has to do is he has to make sure that his browser, the thing that he uses to connect to the internet, that thing is updated, because that is his tool that he goes in. So because of the software, it'll always use the latest tool to get access. That has to do with security. If you use an old tool to go in, it's like an old fence. It can have many holes. Okay, so that's why all Alan has to do is he just has to make sure that whatever browser he uses to go onto the internet is always the latest version. So that's the only thing that he has to do. Continuity, continuing to do this. He has extensive built-in of backup data. So what happens is these servers are maintained by the server companies, right? And they have people that have schedules. And they go and they make sure that if this hard drive is getting a bit old, the data automatically writes onto that hard drive. They do that in the background. You don't have to worry about that. So the company whose software you are using, they look at how to save your stuff and how to make sure that your data isn't lost. So you don't have to worry about that. If Alan's computer dies, he just simply gets a new computer or uses his phone and go onto the site. He hasn't lost any data because it's not on his computer. It's in the big server room. If that big server room burns, breaks down, whatever, another server room jumps up and takes over that thing because they've got mirrors, they've got safety protocols, they've got ways to protect the data that Alan doesn't have to worry about. Okay. A very useful feature for cloud software is that you've got something called data history and tracking. That is where, have you seen when you go into, let's say, Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you can see the history of a document and you can go back and actually restore previous histories of the document. That is because all of that data is used. It is saved. It doesn't overwrite each other. Old programs overwrite old data because they don't have the capacity to save all of that. Cloud can save so much more. So they literally save all your backups, everything that you've done, all changes, so you can restore data. But also, you can see in the program who made what changes. That's tracking. Because you've got different people working on the same thing, you can see, the accountant did this or ran this program, or my admin lady A did approve this pay. So you can see who did what action on your account. And that is a huge safety feature. If something weird happens with your pay, you can exactly see which login did what at what time. That's something you can't see with localized things, because localized things, you don't usually have access to, you don't have that. And then the other thing with cloud software is they support integration and data migration. What that means is cloud software is specifically designed really well to work with other cloud software, so they can talk to each other really well. That's how integration works. And if you want to move from this to that, usually there's a way to migrate your data, because you don't have the data in one place. You just have to point this program to look at that data. So you have a way to integrate and to migrate your data. So that is what the new thing looks like. Now, remember, I said in the beginning that these days you get combinations of this. So you could have something where you install a program or part of the program on your device, but it saves your things to the cloud, or you can have a 100% cloud, or you can have a 100% local. So you do get combinations of these. I hope that this makes the cloud a little bit easier for you to understand. Do we have any questions about this before we move on to some of the terminology? Does it make it easier for you to see the difference?
It's so interesting for me to see this all here in one place and broken down in this way for you. There aren't any questions at the moment, but I would love to know if anybody who's listening right now has learned anything brand new from this session, just gone like, oh, I didn't even consider that. What's interesting for me, and I don't know if we're going to cover this, but do you think, what are the pros? What are the pros of having a balance between the two, or just sticking with full cloud, or if you're full localized? I mean, I know there are security issues that come up, and that's something that we've talked a lot with Cert NZ about. So those of you listening, if you want to go back and watch any of our Cert videos, Cert NZ videos, we also have another session coming up the 11th of June. I'll just plug that in there. So if you want to sign up and learn more about security there. But I'm curious to know, Dalene, in your estimation and and knowing you're not a cloud software specialist, but in your experience, what do you see as pros? We don't even have to talk about the cons, but what's the benefit of any one of those three?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the benefits in a little bit, but also
Right.
the cons, because nothing is ever just 100% good, Georgia. Something might not fit what I need, and I think that is the most important thing here. I mean, no judgment. You use the tool that you need for your purpose at this time, and that is the most important thing. If you do not need something that can run by itself and do 100% things, and you just need a timesheet, use what works for you. Otherwise, you're going to be frustrated. And I think that's the most important thing. For cloud specifically, there are so many options out there, and people can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelmed. And I think that's why it's very important to first start with, what do I want? What do I need? What do I want this thing to do? and then pick the thing that actually does that for you. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed and not find what you're looking for.
Mhm.
So let's take a look at the terminology. So first of all, we said we're going to make this a little bit easier for you. So just quick, hardware and software, just for yourself. We're not IT people. What do they talk about when they say hardware, and what do they talk about when they say software? Okay, so hardware, I want you to think of is a physical thing you can touch. As easy as that. So your computer screen is hardware. Your computer brain is hardware. The thing inside the computer that makes it run, that sort of spins up and goes, woo, that is hardware. So the hard drive is hardware. Your keyboard is hardware. Your mouse is hardware. Your printer is hard. So it's the thing that you can touch. That is the hardware. Okay. And then the software is the program that is installed on it to make it work. As easy as that. So the software is any program that's on there that does a function. As easy as that. What are servers and databases? So servers, we know now, is a big location with lots of computers. A database is the data that's what we call the data that's housed on that server. So if somebody talks to you about, we need to migrate our database from this place to that place, that means they're taking this information and they're moving it to a new host. That's all. So the database is your information. So on cloud systems, the database can be structured, or it can be semi-structured, or it can be unstructured. So that's a little bit more technical, but basically when the data goes in, it first goes into a great big bundle. It's usually encoded and saved and all that, and then they have programs that read that so that you can understand what it does. So that's the database. Then you get something like a system, operating system, and an app. So your operating system, I want you to think of the operating system sort of as the main brain. The operating system is the master software that makes things work for your device. So you have an operating system for your phone. Let's say that if you have like a Samsung, you have an Android operating system. So you've got an Android brain. If you have an Apple, you have your Mac iOS, your Mac operating system. If you have a computer, a home computer, and you want to use Microsoft, then you have the Microsoft brain, the Windows operating system. So it's the brain that makes your device work. It tells your device how to use programs. Okay, does that make sense? All right. And then an app. An app is basically any program that is written so that you can do something. So an app is not just things on the phone, although you do, those are called mobile apps. That's like that is a little program to work on a mobile device. But any program that you work with on your computer is also called an app. I know that's very confusing, but it's a software program that's been designed to do something. So your Microsoft Word is an app. Your Google Drive is an app. So it's an app is a program that is designed to do something, like Gmail. Gmail is an app. Okay. Then we get something like backups and integration. So backups basically means I'm saving this data to another place so that if something happens to this one, it is saved. So think of it that way. If you back up your phone's pictures. So you have your phone's pictures on your phone, but they're quite heavy and your phone's going to get full. So you save them to your drive. Okay, so you back up. So these two copies of the same thing. That's what backup is. Okay. Integration is one system that works with another. They talk together. For example, Thankyou Payroll is integrated with Xero. So if you have a Xero account and you have a payroll account, you tell your payroll account where to link things to in Xero, and then it sends the information there and you get it in Xero. So that's integration. One program talks to the other program and they sort of share information. That's integration. They work together. It's like a collaboration. Okay, then you get the scary terminology. You get your internet security, your firewall, your malware. Those are the woo scary ones, okay? But it's important to know why they're there. Okay, So internet security basically is a range of tactics. So it's lots of things. So internet security is not just one thing. So it's lots of things that work together to protect the activities of employers and users while you are connected to the internet, while you're using web browsers, while you are on websites. It's all the stuff that you do to protect you on there. So this guards against cyber attacks and threats. So it's the internet security is your username and your password, but it's also your firewall settings. It is all. There's a whole bunch of things that has to do. It's the site's own protection. So it's a whole bunch of things that work together to keep you safe. Your firewall, that is your network security software. So what your business uses, your network uses to keep you safe, that is your firewall. And that keeps your internal network safe from unauthorized access. It monitors incoming and outgoing traffic, and it sort of acts like a shield, and it bounces things that are not right. That's why sometimes emails do not come to you. Somebody sent an email to you and you didn't get it. You can tell them, hey, I really didn't get it. I looked in my junk folder. I looked in my, it's not there. I promise you. And they tell you, no, but I sent it and sent you a screenshot. I sent it. It's because your firewall, there was something in that email that made your firewall say, no, 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 I'm sending you back. I'm not letting you through. You shall not pass. Okay, so that is the firewall. It's like your own safety thing, and that has settings and it monitors just to make sure that we're safe. And then malware is any software, anything that is created to harm a computer or to harm servers or to harm a network. And cyber criminals use this to cause havoc and also to steal private data. So there is a whole bunch of them, worms and viruses and trojans and clickbaits and all sorts of stuff that happens there. So you don't have to know the exact type. Just know that if this thing is meant to harm you or to steal some of your stuff, it's called malware. Okay. And then down here in the blue is just because we're talking about cloud services, there are companies that specialize in giving you certain things in the cloud. Now, these things are more for people who actually use the cloud to run their business, to create software, to do those kinds of things. So the one that most people work with or have heard of is software as a service, SaaS. Okay, software as a service. So all that means is that this company provides online software via subscription. It's like Thankyou Payroll. We do software as a service, so you can go online, you can use our software at a subscription basis. It is not a program that you buy or install on devices. So like Netflix, a software as a service. So that's all that SaaS stands for. It's a company that does software as a service on the internet. You get the idea? That's what SaaS stand for. One step more advanced is PaaS, which is platform as a service. Now, most people will not use this. This is for developers. So this is where a third party, a company, gives the hardware and the software that people can use. So developers use this. They host websites on this. They build and deploy consumer-facing apps based on the hosting that they're doing. So that's the platform. So they give you the platform and the software that you can use. Then you get infrastructure as a software as a service. There was the IaaS. I don't think you say IaaS. Okay, but that's infrastructure as a service. In cloud computing model, it provides on-demand access to computer resources such as servers, storage, networking, virtualization over the internet. So that is if somebody wants to create a huge thing and they need lots of storage space and they do lots of things, then they go and they look at the infrastructure there. So that's almost your big huge companies that do their own infrastructure as well on on these servers. So you can own your own server and those kinds of things. So it's huge. So most of our people will not deal with these two. You'll just deal with SaaS mostly. Yeah, so I hope that's all right. Now to get back to your question, Georgia, about the pros and the cons. I hope that this puts you at ease a little bit. What are the pros and the cons? Why would I consider using the cloud? First of all, I've put them in terms of the four big ones. The big one for the cloud is access. Okay, so you can do global simultaneous access. It's not device dependent. It's not single user. It's not location dependent. So we can all work on the same thing at the same time in real time. So while you're typing, I can see what you're typing. Okay, speed. It's fast. Because it's the internet, it's fast. You've got all those servers working together, so you can process a lot of things very, very, very fast. Collaboration, multiple people can work on the same thing and see updates immediately. What are the cons for access? If you're doing cloud, it is obviously reliant on the internet. So if you have outages or poor internet access, which many of our places do have, you might look for an option that also allows for offline capabilities. So all that means is that the thing that you're working on, if you make it available offline, you work on it now, but nobody else can see it. The minute you're back on the internet, it quickly updates. Okay, so there are options like that available. So it's not I can't do this because my internet is poor. It just means that you're going to have to look for something that functions a little bit more within what you need, right? Sometimes with the access, you do get vendor lock-in. And that basically just means that it can be really difficult to move from one provider to another if you have this big, humongous bucket of data to move. So sometimes it can be difficult. How people, help you to migrate your data is dependent on the program that you use, obviously. Like I said, the cloud services are designed to work well with other programs and to integrate. But if you have something that works completely on its own and it doesn't really allow for integration, it will be harder for you to migrate data. So again, it's what you choose to use. Okay, but just be aware that could be something that is difficult there. Costs. Pros for costs. Obviously, we said that if you're using cloud services, it is scalable. So if you start and you only have one admin lady and you only pay for her subscription, and 2 years down the line, you have 5 people who need to go on, you only pay like $2 more, or you pay per user more. So it's scalable. So that reduces the capital expenditure and hardware investments because you don't have to keep buying and updating your hardware either. So you don't have to use this huge server and then the thing blows up and you've got to buy a new huge server and, reduce IT overheads. So because you have access to help desk on cloud services, you don't really need to have an in-house IT team of 20 who maintains your stuff, okay? And it's simple pricing. So usually you have pay-as-you-go modules. You know exactly what you're paying for. You can usually negotiate pricing, if you need more space or, you can negotiate it. What are the cons for cost? Sometimes, and this is a big thing, because there are so many things that do the same thing, you can have personal choice options that actually makes you use 5 or 6 things that does exactly the same thing that you're paying subscriptions for. So if you've got a larger company and your one likes monday.com and the other one likes, I don't know what other programs you have for collaboration, you can have 5 programs that actually does the same thing and you're paying subscription for all of them. So just be careful that you don't, because it's so easy to get them, don't double up on things. A variable service agreement. So you need to know what is included in what you have now, and you can negotiate for the service agreement. So you need to know a little bit more about what is included and what is not. Okay. Another one, business continuity. What does the pros look like for your business continuity? So disaster recovery and backup, it is usually quite robust. So you normally have robust disaster recovery and backups available. You have access to the latest tech, and that provides you with resilience. And you have storage capacity that is scalable, and it's maintained by the server company. You don't have to worry about backups and those kinds of things. Cons for your business continuity. You can have lots of disconnected cloud apps. So there can be integration problems and limited customization. So usually the product is what the product is. And you can say you want access to this or not, turn this feature on or off. But that's about how much, customization options you have. Ignorance, understanding how the backup protocols work. So it's a little bit more, you just need to understand what you're paying for and how it works. That's just basically what it is. Downtime. Even data centers have downtime sometimes. The internet fails sometimes. Those kinds of things can happen. So just have a plan for, how you're going to do that if that happens. Security. For using cloud services, access to advanced technologies. You've got usually the latest security features and measures, and it's updated in the background to stay current. You don't even know about all the updates that happen in the background to keep you safe. You've usually got specialist teams that work on the security and on the site. So if something goes wrong, you've got a whole team of expert that looks on that and do that quickly, and you're just getting these updates, automatic updates that happen in product that you don't even know about. It's just, oh, we've added this new feature. So you get all that. The cons for security basically just says that you have security and monitoring complexity. So usually it's managed by others. And the minute that something is managed by others, some people don't like that. They like to hold all the cards. So unless you're a security expert, maybe don't worry too much about that. Okay. Reduce control. Because there are external protocols, it's again managed by someone else. So you don't hold all the cards. But that's what you want, isn't it? Because if you hold all the cards, you have all the responsibility. So it's weighing the two up against each other. So what are our options if we do not want to use the cloud? What other options do we have? We basically have three. First of all, we can go old school and we can go do everything in-house by myself on my device. So you've got your hardware computer and you've got your software. So you buy your program, you install it, it's just you. The upside of this is you've got control. So you decide how many computers you have. You decide on which computers the thing will be installed. You've got greater optimization. So if you want to buy more computers, you buy more computers. It's your thing. And the downside to this is somebody has to take care of all that. So you've got initial setup for buying the whole program and the whole thing, but you also have maintenance costs. So hard drives need to be replaced. Things need to be, looked after. And you need an in-house IT team or technicians. You need somebody you can go to help you with this. Your second option is a hybrid system. So that means that part of it is for you locally and part of it is on the cloud. Think of a hybrid system kind of like you have your photo on your phone, that's your local one, but you back up to the cloud. Okay, so that's a hybrid system. Okay, so what does that give you? It gives you flexibility. You can choose what to update. You can choose what goes where, right? What do I keep local? What do I back up? You've got potential for customization because you can choose what goes where. You can customize what goes where. The downside is it's usually complex and to coordinate. I mean, it's hard enough to remember to back up your data on your phone. And then you don't know, has this backed up, hasn't this backed up, where does it go to, so it can become quite complex if you don't, so you need someone to manage it. You need an IT person to manage what system talks to what at the same time. And then your third option is to completely outsource your IT. That means that a third party takes care of all of it. You don't see any of it. So you don't have your in-house burden, but the downside is you are dependent on this outsourced IT company. So if they don't do what you want them to do, well, you don't really have option B because they have all your cards. So you see that. So each of these are valuable options depending on what you want. So go back to what do I need, and then pick something that fits with you. So how do these compare to cloud services? So first of all, cost efficiency. So cloud services often have lower upfront costs compared to on-premises solutions, and cloud services can be more cost effective than fully outsourced ones. Access and collaboration. Cloud services typically offer better access and collaboration features than on-premises, because on-premises you have to physically be there in the same place working on the same computer. IT burden, unlike on-premises and outsourced solutions, cloud services reduce your need for in-house IT because you've got that help desk that you can phone, right? Scalable and flexibility. Cloud services provide scalable and flexibility that is hard to match because you can choose what you use. Okay, let's take a look at payroll. Would I use cloud for payroll? Because payroll is such a specialized thing. What are the benefits for using payroll software on the cloud? First of all, and you might not have thought about this, so instead of all of those things that we just talked about, for payroll specifically, cloud services are usually quite compliant and the calculations are updated. So they have regular updates. So if there's a law that changes or things like that, the software is updated quickly. For example, we just came into a new financial year. So we have new salaries. We've got new student loan thresholds. We've got all that. And our software automatically updated all those. So owner doesn't have to go in and actually physically update everything. So those kinds of things happen if you've got cloud. If you had something that you installed, whatever was installed initially is that. And if there's any changes, you have to manually go and do that, right? Automation of calculations. So we've got default settings and formulas, all those things that are built in the back. So you don't even have to worry about that. You just know that you put in this and it spits out the right answer for you. Projections and dummy calculations. So on payroll specifically, you often want to do year-end projections, or you want to do dummy calculations. If half my team went on sick leave, how would that impact? So you can do those kinds of calculations and get accurate results. Access and security. Of course, you have multiple access to the same payroll at the same time, which means you can do payroll on the run. You can do your payroll in the field while you're busy tending to your sheep. You can do your payroll. Real-time help, and that is huge. Help desk can see what you're doing when you're doing it. So when you're on the call with help desk, they say, oh, I can see what you're seeing. Put this there, and they can see it, and they can say, no, you see that warning? Do that. So they can see what you are doing. And that is, I think, if there's anything that will sway you, it's that, because you're trying to explain to someone what you've done is almost impossible if they can't see it, right? Updating and security checks. So you get regular safeguard checks against breaches. You get commitment to security data and to security safety and privacy and those kinds of things. Ease of use. There's no downloading or configuring. Anywhere you can go in, and it just uses. It just works. It's right there. Records stored in an organized way. So for payroll specifically, payroll records need to be accessed for 7 years. And that's really, really hard if you don't have an easy way to get it. But most of these programs have reporting functions and all that. So it just gets the data quickly without any problems. It saves space on your local computer. So your local computer doesn't have to be the top of the range because nothing is actually saved on it. It's all saved on that big space on the servers. Reporting features, right? So usually they've got a preset reporting types and customization options. So you can pick a report type and run a report. You don't have to set it up. Tracking of input and activities, that's something I spoke about before. You can exactly see who did what on your payroll account at what time. And then integration, like I talked about, our payroll software can talk to Xero and you can work together. So that is just the cloud in a nutshell. And I hope that it's explained to you quickly why it's so useful to use it specifically with payroll. Yeah, so if you've got any questions, back to you, Georgia.
I don't see any questions here, but I just want to point out that we've got your information on here. If anybody wants specific questions, especially about payroll, and payroll related or cloud-based services for payroll, Dalene's information is on here. You can get in touch with Thankyou Payroll at help@thankyouPayroll.co.nz. You obviously know how to get in touch with us over at, well, maybe you're new. If you're new, welcome. But yes, so if you're new, reach out to us at support@digitalboost.co.nz. Dalene, what I loved about all of your presentations for us are broken down very cleanly and into bite-sized pieces where we can really get the information that we need. And I know, some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter what the cloud is. I just use it and I don't want to know. But for those of us who are a little like on the fence about, well, but what is it? Where is my information going? Why does it benefit me, for example, to have payroll in the cloud? And for those things that you were saying, as I'm listening to you talk about it, I was saying, oh, of course, you've got that real time. If you're in trouble, you've got somebody who can come in real time, see what you're doing. Trying to explain to someone what you're working on in your computer, never really, it's just torture. It can be torture, especially if it comes to payroll. And things like payroll are so important, right? And so getting emotionally attached to, is this safe? Is this not safe? For the most part, these are safe services, and the security is always getting updated. And as long as we are staying on top of our own security, in our own, on our computers and in our own businesses, then you're on top of it. You're great. Like everything will be good. So I really appreciate this presentation that you put together for us. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions before we sign off, or any last things you want to say.
No, all good. Oh, thank you so much for having me here again, Georgia. It's always so lovely to talk to you. And obviously, you're going to get the slides. So do come back. And if you have any questions, obviously, we'll be in touch. So yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was wonderful.
Oh, Dalene, we always thank the presenters who come on and you share your time with us and your expertise, and it really benefits all of us here at Digital Boost, not just our users, but me, everyone. We just continue learning from each other. So I really, really appreciate your time. And everyone, thank you for coming along and watching. Those of you who are watching the recording on our socials, if you are not a Digital Boost member, sign up for Digital Boost. There's so many more of these videos on there that you can access and play around in. It's a great platform to be a part of, and it's a great community. We have our community Facebook group. It's just such a lovely place to be here in Aotearoa as a small business owner, to get to communicate with each other. So I thank you all for being a part of this amazing organization, and I will see you all soon. Thanks, Dalene, and thank you, Digital Boosters. Talk later. Matewa.